The stream is inspired by Furious Dwick post in the super secret sample classroom in the Studio One Lord Discord. Bro posted a video. He was talking to Frank about, like voicing across different instruments. It's something that first you'll come across information like this in traditional composition information. So these two guys right here, the two pieces of literature that I built Studio One tutorials sample class in the YouTube off of on music theory for computer musicians, and one is for music composition. When we work in piano roll, the thing that happens, this is one of the reasons why I'm like an advocate of getting out of piano roll, and it's not that using piano roll is bad, but when you actually use like a MIDI keyboard, your music gets to sound more natural, and then you can come back in and program like you're using a MIDI keyboard, but you have to get the proficiency. So here's the thing, right? So go to piano roll and say you're like, I'm gonna build a C minor chord, right? And you click in. This is you building a C minor chord in piano roll. You've seen it 100 bazillion times. This is what you're used to doing. This is what everybody does. You're gonna do this. You're gonna get a chord stamp, right? And then from here, you're gonna, there's a workflow. You will never go to piano roll and. But that's what actually sounds good, right? That's something that you would do if you were actually, using your hands like this instead of sitting here and going, what's the point behind that? When it comes to writing music, especially if you're going to write like samples, especially if you're going to write samples that you want people to chop, every year there's more and more artists who are interested in that style of music. Sample base continues to grow. If you want to write stuff that, translates to different instruments and stuff like that, you want to get the idea about being able to take a chord. I talk about this in sample class a lot. It's just like finding the first chord that you like the way it feels, right? So I like but if I bounce this up to root position and we put these triad, in terms of clicking it, you get this, you can kind of see, all those notes sound good together. It sounds good on the piano. But what if I wanted to, like put an organ and mellotron strings and stuff like this? Like I can write a whole, 8-bar loop just based off of these notes. So now that I've got the notes CMP, where do I go? SD shared this cool video. Brother right here explains it, but it's a 1-minute video. The information that you look at is he's saying like, okay, if a band was playing this, the singer would sing the ninth, maybe the horns will play the fifth up here. The bassist just plays the root note, and that's good. That's good information. It's a good starting point. But the thing that sucks about a 1-minute video, there's very little room for nuance. So I'll show you where he very appropriately attempts to apply the nuance, and he shows his friend's sample. And his point is, when you look at all the different tracks, you don't see any block chords, right? But what's important to understand about this technique is when you look at this, you also don't see any one of these tracks just playing one note. That's what I want to show you. The singer's going to take this note, the bass is going to take this note, the horns is going to take this note, right? You guys good? You guys with me on this? We know that these are my notes, right? So if I'm doing piano roll hack vibes, I do this with my hands. This method makes using your hands better. This is how I actually got to be comfortable just using a MIDI keyboard, MPK MIDI Plus, to write everything, because once I know like what 2 or 3 notes I'm going to be using to play a part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this C right here, build the triad, and then I've got the inverted ninth up top, which is what I like. This piano. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, because we just got too many notes, right? And so the piano is just going to exist to give me where I want to go, right? Now we just figure out what's the next note we're going to write. Let's see what's up with this fifth. I'll go up into a different preset that I already have. This is my sample making template for making dark loops. I'm using my hands, and what I'm doing is I'm just trying different notes in the scale next to this voice that I want to write with. I know I want to anchor on that G for this voice, right? So I'm just trying, 5-4. I like the way 5-3 feels, so I'm gonna record it. And now you can kind of see, oh, okay, that's how you can do this with, a level of being intentional, right? Because I feel like what what holds a lot of people up with writing is, what instrument do I pick? What notes do I play? How do people just look to seem to, just like have it flow so effortless? There is a code, and musicians hate putting it like that because they don't like to appear that they're doing anything but just being a conduit to God. If we look at our ghost notes now, you see like, okay, we're moving in between here, and bust it up and I'll see what happens. You can kind of decide, like, kind of thicken up that middle octave or go higher. I'm gonna save that top octave to go higher with, with maybe another sound. That's just me using this third now. I know I said I would do this on the piano roll. Oh, it's just so much easier to use the MIDI controller, right? So if you look at, okay, now we're just taking this guy, referencing this one. You might be thinking like, oh, I'm getting confused. Does that mean since that we can't use this ninth anymore because this instrument's playing it? Like, no, you kind of see what can fit in where, right? It's kind of fun about doing things this way is you can get to learn things about your presets and stuff like that, right? So that like we don't have a bass yet, so I could come into here and just go to a random bass. And now, thank you, Matt, I appreciate you, bro, catching the live stream, but we'll catch the replay. Wanted to drop in and say thanks for giving. I appreciate you, Matt. But now I can now I can go into here and I know that, like, all right, I'm going to be playing the root note because this is the bass, right? So this has to anchor it. So now you could just and just go through presets and just have fun with your library. And you see how I'm just going through using random presets. The stuff works because your music is on point, right? Like, you've got, when you're making your samples, like, the part of actually writing the music, but it shouldn't be dependent on your sound design. You know what I mean? You should be able to go through and find sounds, that are in your template or in your VST, and be able to make something that sounds cohesive. And then once you have the music, you could say like, all right, maybe I want to swap this out with this.